2024 D&D was not made to update the game, but to update something completely different. 10 years of 5th edition saw one of the most meteoric rises Dungeons & Dragons had ever witnessed. It was arguably one of the easiest, most accessible versions ever, streamlined so that players could quickly learn it and begin playing right away. A year after, we saw the rise of Critical Role, a small group of dirty-ass voice actors having began streaming their live play games. The new ease of play, the free publicity, the simplicity by which third-party companies could make content and financially gain from it blasted the IP into a new era. Then, in 2019, COVID struck. People were forced into their homes, and during that time, Dungeons & Dragons saw year-over-year's worth of doubling sales and windfalls of cash. But success rarely comes without its downfall. It's a darkness as old as corporations themselves. It may be said that one day that 5th edition success is what led to its greatest failures. New corporate heads at WotC's parent company Hasbro heralded a new era and philosophy for the brand, one ruled by the same infection another industry had been grappling with for many years. By 2022, Wizards of the Coast had announced 1 D&D, now known as 2024 5th edition. Dark tidings and prophetic warnings started simmering amidst some of the older heads of the community after D&D Beyond was bought out. A restructure was coming, and it would change forever how Dungeons & Dragons would interact with its community. The warnings were not heeded. The darkness crept and then struck. The OGL debacle erupted. As much as Wizards and Hasbro tried to hide their plans, leaks broke through the seams. Big-name third-party creators had been lured in with brand deals while being gagged with NDAs. It turned out that with the new 1D&D, the OGL, or Open Gaming License, which gave so many the ability to freely make and profit from third-party content, was going to see massive changes. Income would be stripped as royalties for Wizards Hasbro. You would not own your content, as the corporation laid claim to your creations under their license. War broke out immediately. Every content creator from a couple of dozen subscribers to millions jumped in. Articles flew, and suddenly the golden goose was lit on fire, with thousands of people dropping subscriptions to D&D Beyond and Wizards Hasbro's reputation completely dumpstered. The corporation backtracked big time, but they had one problem on their hands, the one thing they used to start it all: 2024 D&D. See, 2024 D&D was not made to update the game. It was made to update an income model. Hasbro and Wizards could not do away with the OGL as it was, so what the new video game executives concocted was an old standard play in the book. Create a new game, and change the rules. Now everything would be under their umbrella, and with their takeover of D&D Beyond, they would seek to create their own walled garden where they can begin selling, wait for it, microtransactions. See, I've been running 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons for somewhere around 7 or 8 years, and the edition has its flaws and could have done with some updates. When I picked up the player's handbook for the new edition, however, I was sorely disappointed, and if I'm being completely honest, more than a little enraged. What executives do not understand is that games, especially tabletop role-playing games, are more than a grouping of abilities, stats, and builds. It's not just a tabletop game. It's not a video game. It is a role-playing game, and the problem with 2024 5th edition is that when it should have increased the players' and dungeon masters' tools for role-playing, it instead decreased them. There are very few mechanics in D&D, in my opinion, that honestly facilitate roleplay. But in 2014 5th edition, the one place you could find such guidance was the background section. Every background had features that facilitated some form of roleplay based on the background itself, whether it's getting help from a local temple because you're an acolyte, receiving cheap stay at an inn because of your status as a local hero, among many other options. Now, I would be lying to say that these are commonly used abilities, at least at my table, but the problem was not that these options existed and were unneeded, but that there is very little guidance in running them, and very few of these features to be had. A role-playing game, first and foremost, needs to facilitate roleplay. 2024 D&D does a terrible job at this, and the one place you could previously find such features was instead replaced by more video game-like ability options. Backgrounds in 2024 D&D have completely dropped the role-playing features in favor of homogenizing its content into providing free feats, as though the one thing that actually makes this game good is just how many ways we can add more abilities to use in combat. As I combed through the newest editions, what I found was that the updates that were had were not exciting, nor were they particularly new. If you already owned Tasha's Cauldron of Everything and Mordenkainen's Monsters in the Multiverse, then you, for all intents and purposes, already own 2024 D&D, and that is possibly the most insulting thing about it. Despite there being some changes to the core rules and some spell updates, 2024 D&D does not, in my mind, qualify as an edition update, even as a 5.5. As much as I have enjoyed 5th edition, I have matured as a DM and have had time to experience the kinds of flaws that can only come with repeated play. While the edition's simplicity is a great way to introduce new players and creates an ease and understanding, it does not do a good job in facilitating roleplay. What I too often see in 5th edition are simple solutions and an ignoring of facilitating roleplay opportunities. When a group wants to know what a magic item does, what do? Whether it's an uncommon item or artifact that warps the very fabrics of the planes themselves, all they do is cast a ritual identify. Backgrounds don't even connect players to their worlds anymore, and so where they needed more roleplay opportunities, they gave us less. There are hundreds of role-playing systems out there, and they could have introduced mechanics like flashbacks, new roleplay connections that go into a person's heritage, their backgrounds, and destinies. 2024 D&D could have gone deeper into what makes each character who they are and given them unique racial options as they leveled up. They could have gone further into how your past affects your interactions with the world, but instead, we just got more free feats. So what in the world am I doing? I'm not sticking with 2014 Dungeons & Dragons, and I'm not going to update to 2024 either. Then what am I doing in my next campaign? Well, it's the 5th edition update I believe we deserved. Level Up Advanced 5th edition. In Chapter 1, Character Creation, players get to build their personas as they go through 6 different steps. Starting with origins. Who are they? Where do they come from? And what drives them? Heritage. This is their race. How does that shape them? And this will branch into new customization options as you level. Culture. A character may be a drow, but maybe they grew up in the Feywild. Maybe they're an orc, but they grew up in a noble house rather than a tribe. A dwarf raised among elves, or an Aasimar who grew up in an industrial society. Background. Backgrounds define your past and your occupation. It determines part of your ability scores and gives you multiple roleplay features fit for your character's history. Destiny. This one is really exciting. Your destiny gives you a path. Whether you stick to it or break it will be your determination, but it represents either a road or an obstacle. Playing to your destiny can award you inspiration and new abilities, but sometimes a good DM can turn this into an ultimatum. And then your class. Classes don't come with a small pathway of abilities here. They also come with specialities within your new features, and several class features give non-combat benefits. It is my contention that tabletop role-playing games are at their best when they focus on the unique ways a player can interact with the world around them. Though spells and abilities have their utility for the creative mind, taking special interest in lining players with options specifically meant for interacting with the world creates new improvisational opportunities that neither 2014 nor 2024 D&D have seemed to even consider. Not all styles of role-playing games are for everyone, and I do not want this to be a downer on your decision to pick one edition over another. To an extent, I will continue to shoplift content from Dungeons & Dragons, both old and new, because I didn't spend thousands of dollars on books and supplies for nothing. So what do you think? What editions and systems are you using? What makes you enjoy those ones specifically? And do you think I'm overlooking anything? Let me know down in the comments, and if you enjoyed my content, do not forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, don't forget to give your familiar a pet from me.